Hollywood is looking for recovery in a time of economic slowdown. The walled gardens of streaming services haven't been living up to their promised fruits. In fact, Wall Street seems to be calling the fruit overripe, and at this point in time, less valuable. Peddling films in the form of trailers has dipped substantially since the onset of the global crisis. More on that story later this week. But box office earnings in total are expected to be well below 2019 once again. And it'll be well below 2019 for a long while to come. But where some see adversarial conditions, the wise see opportunity. Enter Peter Chernin, someone you've never heard of, but maybe you should have. Here we go. The Variety article that we'll be referring to today gives very scant background on Peter Chernin, assuming all those who will be reading this already have, extensive knowledge of who this man is. Well, since leading the Fox Group as the successful CEO, chief executive, and chairman, Chernin went on to start his own independent interests in 2010, his own investment firm. Exactly the kind of thing that you would need if you were going to start your own entertainment empire. He continues to produce television and film, including, a pretty recent movie you might have heard of, Ford versus Ferrari. Stories like this one are written for, two reasons primarily. Reason one is to lift somebody up so that they can get them to the heights where they can basically kick the ladder out from underneath them and watch them fall. The other reason is because of a PR blitz or fluff and the ability to sell access, which this is clearly reason number two. Chernin is backed by a lot of heavy hitters from private equity firms, some of them you may have heard of. He has a track record of success that, is pretty difficult to rival, and he has plenty of money. He's also a bit of a maverick, and he's known for that kind of independent spirit. Chernin recently formed something called the North Road Company. Of course, he immediately purchased Red Arrow Studios North, and he's probably not done at this point. When you announce to the world that you intend on doing something or starting something, one of the tried and true techniques is to go out and buy a bunch of companies that do just that. In other words, expect additional acquisitions. Right now, the North Company is set to do what it's supposed to do. It's going to produce content. And it is here where the Variety article kind of picks up. Peter is going against the Hollywood group think. He's going against the grain. He plans on making content for pretty much everybody, not just a specific streaming service. From the article, and we'll start here. When he announced, as he did Wednesday, plans to launch a new content studio with $800 million in outside financing, it was hard not to do a double take. North Road Company is betting on becoming a leading supplier of programming and streaming services and for streaming services and linear networks. That makes sense. Which sounds great, but hold on a second. It makes sense to question Chernin's move at a time when the OTT-driven content explosion is showing signs of slowing. He appears late to the party that has been raging for the past 5 years or more, as production companies welcomed a groundswell of investor interest. As you can see here, the list of outside investment in this chart here, and outright acquisition of content creators is full of equity firms. There's a lot of them involved in this. And of course, they all have ulterior motives for buying into the content because they want to have something, some position of influence to basically help tell the stories the right way and, maybe insert a little propaganda along the way. Back to the article. But there are plenty of indications out there that the once insatiable demand for programming has cooled. Well, they'll doubt about that. Of course, Exhibit A is the broader macroeconomic malaise gripping the globe will, of course, curb programmers' appetites. Then there's Netflix's subscribers decline, which has triggered a new industry-wide consensus that streaming has essentially lost its luster. Of course, I added a few words there. Wall Street subsequently shifted its preoccupation with sheer subscriber growth to profitability, which makes a lot of sense to me. Just today, Guggenheim lowered its stock price target on Paramount. Well, this was from a few days ago, but yes, this did happen, I think, Tuesday last week. In part, it was because of more modest direct-to-consumer subscriber pacing. Thank you for that. Yesterday, at the annual Allen & Company conference in Sun Valley, Warner Media CEO David Zaslav, and of course this I think is going back also Tuesday, reiterated the notion that HBO Max would be spending prudently and focusing on quality instead of quantity, including the international pullback that we've already talked about in multiple locations. 2 days ago, so that would be Wednesday? Maybe. Hard to say. Anyway, 2 days ago, Bloomberg declared in a headline, the age of peak TV is ending. An age of austerity is beginning. Apparently, Chernin didn't get the memo that a market correction is coming. He went so far as to deem the very notion that a slowdown had taken hold in the streaming category as a silly in the Wall Street Journal coverage of his new venture. North Road is also counterintuitive because Hollywood studios have reoriented their business into walled gardens, like we talked about before, oriented around creating content and supplying their own content for their streaming service. But Chernin sees an opportunity to supplement these internal pipelines with his own product. The streamers aren't the only buyers out there, of course. Cable networks both here and abroad are actually in need of content, though their budgets have dwindled substantially as the wind shifted into streaming sales. Chernin will also be putting some emphasis on unscripted content, which makes sense considering the genre's staggering growth, up 26% year over year in 2021. Well, that growth came out of the fact that they couldn't produce content as they normally would shooting a show, so it's easier to do the unscripted stuff. It's cheaper too. If YouTube is proof of anything, and these are my words, it's that there's always a need for new content. The audience is, of course, there, here, wherever you're watching me. That's where the audience is now. This is a time to expand, to fill the gaps that other creators have left, and believe me, a lot of us are already doing that. Chernin is just going to do that bigger. He's going global, as you would say. And this article just merely points it out by saying, it's worth noting that as turbulent as the OTT world seems right now, it doesn't mean that there aren't calmer waters ahead. It's pretty sound thinking, by the way. For instance, Netflix, for all of its troubles, is still on track to spend $17 billion on content this year. The company is not pulling back so much as it is just being judicious about its programming and basically applying it more intelligently, applying their budget more intelligently to quality products. Of course, Netflix isn't the only one with plenty of money to burn and never-ending need for content. Of course, I've already mentioned the previous statement by David Zaslav that there is room for quality content from outside, even for HBO Max, which isn't stopping its content spend as much as it is, of course, weighing the value of the produced content. So I think a lot of outside content creators are going to get a lot of work. As the article concludes, this guy knows the actual road ahead. In fact, they actually say he can see around corners, but his track record is solid, obviously. I mean, look at what he did with Fox Group and his own investment firm, TCG. I agree with his assessment of the road ahead. I think there are going to be plenty of opportunities for content creators outside of these streaming services to be quite profitable. And to be honest with you, this is why at the end of all my videos, I make a constant trumpeting of supporting independent creators. I think that's the most important thing, to be honest with you. We need more content creators, as many as we can possibly get, and we need more content houses, independent ones, that is. This is why the Rippaverse, which was recently launched, is so inspiring. It's truly amazing what has happened for Eric July and what he's created with some very hard work on his part. And I have to say, it's a pleasure to support him. Your support is what also drives content creators like myself to make content. And we wouldn't be here without you. So be sure to support us if you possibly can by hitting the like, sharing a video, making a comment. And of course, if you have the means, supporting it as a member of the channel. Because let me tell you, it really does make the difference. And with that, I'll end the video the same way I always do. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye.
Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts.
Yay!
Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.